Okay, so welcome back to Patrick's, what is this, second studio session. Miserable grey day in Kyneton. Get lots of those, get lots of really sunny ones as well, everything in between, but usually the weather here is fairly savage, and it's savage in the savage direction today. Thanks for all the comments and questions and feedback and love for the first one. So motivated to do some more of these sessions, and one of the things that came up quite a bit was comments about the barn and the studio and the collection of axes, as we call it. So I thought it'd be a bit of fun to spend 30 seconds each session on one of the instruments or one of the tools. This is one of my favourite basses. This is my favourite bass currently. It's a Fender. It's a jazz bass, but it's what's called a fretless bass. No frets. And it was invented, if you like, by a guy called Jaco Pastorius, American guy, virtuoso bass player, who said that frets were, well, he called them speed humps. And he yanked them all out one day in frustration and sanded his board and epoxy waxed it or resined it and came up with this idea of the fretless bass, and the rest, as I say, is history. So it's a really slinky sounding thing. Get the idea. Anyway, we're not here to talk about guitars, we're here to talk about wine, and in particular the new 2017 releases from Yeringberg Winery in the Yarra Valley. Very close to my heart, Yeringberg, as all my wineries are, all of the wineries that we represent are, but Yeringberg, what we call a foundation member of the CellarHand family. I remember going out to the winery, oh my God, 99, 2000, to talk to the Depuries, and have been working with them really well ever since. Recently, Sandra Depury came to see us at the CellarHand office before all this shitstorm went down. We had a look at the 2017s that were due for release, and we were blown away. So we've got some amazing stuff that we will do when we're allowed to. There's a full vertical of Shiraz that we want to do, and a whole bunch of things. But for now, let's just talk about the wines that we have in bottle now released. Starting with Viognier, 2017 vintage, as I said. And what I love about Yeringberg Viognier is that it has just the right amount of Viognierness, meaning, as my mate Cyril used to say, it doesn't taste like aftershave. Sometimes those Gewürztraminer wines or Viognier wines can really get into that too much, too powerful. This is picked still relatively early, but ends up being 14.5%. but carries it really well. You'll notice this bottle is empty because we drank it the other night with dinner. I think we drank it with an Asian-inspired roast pork and crispy veg that we made. Beautiful example of Viognier, highly recommendable. Of course, I guess most important white wine for Yeringberg is the Marsanne Roussanne. It used to just be called Yeringberg back in the day, and then eventually the varieties made their way onto it. It used to just be Marsanne, and then back in the day, one of the Jabelet family from the Rhone was out here and said to Gilda Puri that Roussanne was a great blending option in the Rhone Valley for the white Hermitage and those wines, and that's how that sort of came about. It's often been said that this is a difficult wine to sell or to list. It beats the shit out of me why that would be. It's textural, it's limey, it's fresh. It's got great weight to it, it's not heavy. If you like Chardonnay wine with a little bit of oak and texture, you'll love it. If you like wines with brightness and freshness, maybe Riesling or even Semillon or some of those things, you'll love it as well. It's age-worthy. It is a $65 retail wine thereabouts, but this 2017 version literally jumping out of the glass in terms of aromas and flavours. The Chardonnay wine is always a very classy offering, none more so than in this 2017 version. Yeringberg Chardonnay is never the flashiest of wines. It's not all winemaking artifact. It doesn't look like some of its Yarra neighbours with a lot of that going on. Not to be critical of those wines, well, not too much anyway, but it's actually really composed. Just looks like Yeringberg year in, year out. Very little new oak, large barrels used, all about getting Chardonnayness from the vineyard into the glass, and I think they've achieved it in spades with the 2017. Moving on to the red wines, I've got two bottles of Pinot behind me. but don't panic, they only released one this year. But what we did the other night was we did a little bit of a comparison. The 2017 Pinot, which again was a very ethereal, open, loose-knit version of a Yeringberg wine as a young wine. I really liked the grace and the elegance in these 2017s. The Pinot was very sumptuous, open in the glass, not very much colour, but as we know, colour is not an important thing with Pinot. We liked it so much that we said, oh, well, let's try one that we prepared earlier, which was a 2010 version under cork. Of course, these days, Yeringberg's all on the screw cap, all the wines. The Pinot from 17 was a great little lesson of where the wine is probably going to go in terms of complexity over time. A really lovely version. Brings us up to the final two wines. The penultimate wine, if you like, is the Shiraz. Now, Yeringberg Shiraz has been in and out of the range, I would say. Nothing happens quickly at Yeringberg, don't get me wrong, we're not chopping and changing. What I mean is, it was part of the lineup originally back in the day. Just to explain, we're talking back in the day, we're talking about 1860s, wine growing, pioneering family in the Yarra, went through till about 1919, 1920, then all the vines were very sadly pulled out, and it wasn't until the late 60s, early 70s that vines started to go in again. This would have been called Hermitage back in the day. Shiraz went back in about 15 years ago for the final time, as in it's not coming out anytime soon. And the wine these days is a lovely, spicy, middle weighted, sumptuous palate, really fragrant. I did splash it around in my favourite decanter of the minute, the Jancis Robinson Magnum decanter. They're really great things. But just a whole lot of love for this wine when I'm having it now. Just thinking, I know what we're having for dinner tonight, and that's what's going to sit really nicely with that. The last wine is, of course, the Yeringberg itself, without the name of any variety on the label. And that's because it is the proprietary sort of wine of Yeringberg property. It's the Bordeaux blend. It's all 5 Bordeaux varieties. It's Cabernet, Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, Cabernet Franc, and a little bit of Petit Verdot that came in cuttings actually from Mount Mary a while ago. For those that talk about Cabernet, I know it's still, for some reason, you know, it's still something of an unfashionable variety. Let's park that forever as far as I'm concerned. This is a really delicious, again, sort of medium-bodied, full-flavoured wine. Doesn't knock you around with alcohol or oak. It's just sumptuous. And it's as food-friendly as all of us wine geeks who crap on about Pinot and about Nebbiolo and, in my case, Blaufränkisch and all that stuff. But these sorts of medium-bodied Yarra Cabernet wines, obviously I'm talking about One Turner Amelia, I'm talking about Mount Mary Quintet, I'm talking about some of Sarah Crow's stuff at Yeringberg, at Yarra Yering. There's so much good stuff these days. Delicious. So that's the final wine, Yeringberg 2017. So a delicious set. Thank you for your company again, and look forward to the next cellar session. Did I call it cellar session again? Studio session, you got me. Cheers.